Discover the incredible, heartwarming love story that will change your life forever, revealed now. The summer sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the Ohio farmland. Jessie wiped the sweat from her brow, balancing trays of sandwiches and a stack of napkins as she hurried to serve the community center's fundraiser. Juggling 2 energetic children while working 3 part-time jobs left her little room to breathe, but she wore her exhaustion like a badge of honor. This was her life, a determined single mother fiercely battling the odds and the stigma of her situation. As she greeted the familiar faces of her neighbors, warmth filled her heart. The community had always rallied around her, supporting her through the fallout of her painful divorce, yet deep down, she felt the whispers of judgment. She forced a smile as she overheard a conversation nearby, someone once again labeling her as that single mom. But this night wasn't about her, it was about creating memories for her kids and keeping the spirit of rural life alive, and then he appeared. Tom, her high school sweetheart, back in town, looking more rugged but somehow still the boy who'd stolen her heart. Their eyes locked, igniting a spark Jessie thought had long been extinguished. She remembered laughter, sweet teenage moments, and dreams of forever. But reality hit when she recalled his departure, his ambitions taking him away while she remained stuck in a life full of burdens. How dare he return now, stirring emotions she fought so hard to suppress. As they shared awkward small talk, Jessie's heart raced. Tom apologized, his voice full of remorse. "I never meant to leave you behind, Jessie." He was searching for something, she could see it in his eyes. But her sister's words echoed in her mind. "He abandoned us, Jess. He doesn't deserve your forgiveness." Before they could delve deeper, Jessie was pulled back into the frantic preparations. Laughter erupted around them, punctuated by kids racing toward the bounce house, but in her heart, chaos reigned. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days later, trouble rolled into town, and with it, a storm of worries. Jessie's old car sputtered and died, leaving her stranded. To her surprise, Tom showed up at her doorstep, tools in hand. They worked together, side by side. But it didn't take long before their efforts disrupted a local project. Whispers spread like wildfire, fueled by underlying tension. Jessie felt herself being pushed against a wall, the community's judgment tightening around her like a vice. Had she been foolish to trust him? Had she risked everything? As the crisis in town escalated, tensions reached a boiling point. During a heated town hall meeting, voices rang out, family loyalties crashing against personal grievances. Jessie couldn't keep quiet any longer. Heart pounding, she met Tom's gaze, feeling the weight of unspilled emotion hanging thick in the air. As the dust settled around her, Jessie's heart teetered on the edge. Did she let the weight of resentment dictate her future, or was it time to embrace hope? The annual county fair loomed nearby, reminding her of the sweet moments they shared as teenagers. Could love, ever so complex, break free from the chaos? Standing at the cusp of a decision, the world around her faded, leaving only the pulse of her heart and the echoes of the community awaiting transformation. Would she choose to leap into the unknown, or let fear keep her rooted in the past? Jessie stood in her small kitchen, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the lingering smell of last night's dinner. She stared out the window, mind racing with the possibilities ahead. The county fair was just days away, a gathering that echoed with memories from her younger days, smeared cotton candy, laughter, and dances under the stars. Every fiber of her being wanted to grab hold of it all once more. But could she untangle herself from this mess? The whispers of her neighbors gnawed at her. What if they were right? What if trusting Tom was a mistake? As these thoughts twisted around her, the sound of her children's laughter brought her back to reality. They were oblivious to the chaos simmering in her heart. Walking into the living room, she found them sprawled out on the carpet, coloring and giggling. "Mom, can we go to the fair?" Sarah asked, her bright eyes shining with excitement. Jessie felt a pang of guilt. They deserved to experience joy, to bask in the warmth of community togetherness. But could she face Tom there? "Maybe, honey. Let us see how things go in the next couple of days," she replied, forcing a smile. Later that afternoon, Jessie stepped out onto her porch and inhaled deeply, the air rich with the scent of freshly mown hay and flowers. Her mind pulled her toward Tom, whose house was just a few blocks over. Just last week, they'd been working side by side, fixing her car, laughter breaking through the tension like sunlight through clouds. But today, she felt a heavy hesitation. As she turned to go back inside, a movement caught her eye. Tom was walking toward her, hands in his pockets, an uncertain smile on his face. Jessie's heart raced. She fixed her expression, determined not to betray her uncertainty. "Hey," he called, his warm voice wrapping around her like a hug. "Hey." The word slipped out, laced with both warmth and wariness. "I was wondering if you'd like to talk." "Really talk?" His eyes searched hers, revealing an earnestness that disarmed her. Jessie hesitated, battling the flood of emotions swirling within her. "About what?" "About how you left." Tom looked down, a shadow passing over his face. "I know I hurt you, Jess. I can't change the past, but I'm here now. I want to make it right, if you'll let me." His sincerity broke through her defenses. She could see the boy she once loved, the one who held her hand under the stars, the one who made promises about their future. Jessie felt a flicker of hope, buried under years of resentment. "You think it's that simple?" she whispered. "No, I don't, but I'd like the chance to try. Can we start fresh?" Before she could respond, a gust of wind tugged at her hair, stirring up the excitement of the upcoming fair. Something inside her knew this moment was pivotal, not just for them, but for her kids, for her own heart. It was terrifying, but there was a whisper of excitement too. "Can we just take it one step at a time?" Jessie finally asked, lowering her guard just a fraction. Tom nodded, a hopeful smile breaking through the uncertainty. "One step at a time." Just then, a distant sound of laughter came from the fairgrounds, echoing through the evening air like a siren call. Jessie could feel the gravity of the setting sun pulling her towards an age-old dance. "Let us go to the fair," she blurted out, surprising herself. "Really?" Tom's face lit up, and she found herself smiling in response. "Yes, but remember, one step at a time," she added, but the thrill of the unknown rapidly overrode her caution. As they walked toward the fair, Jessie's heart raced. What awaited them in the shadows of the Ferris wheel and the laughter of children? Did this really mark the beginning of a new chapter or yet another twist in her life's unpredictable tale? The thought sparked both apprehension and exhilaration, telling her one thing: everything was on the line. But, above all, there was one question that nagged at her mind: how far would she go to reclaim the love she had once thought lost forever? Jessie breathed in the carnival air as they made their way down the dusty path towards the fairgrounds. The sounds of laughter and distant music embraced her like a warm blanket, tugging at long-forgotten memories. They passed rows of colorful booths, the lights twinkling against the backdrop of the twilight sky, and she could feel Sarah's little hands gripping her tightly, excitement bubbling over. Tom walked beside her, and she stole a quick glance at him. There was a lightness in his stride, an eagerness that reminded her of kissing him outside the old diner back in high school. But now, a bittersweet tension filled the air, a delicate dance of hope and doubt that made her stomach flutter. "Look at that!" Sarah squealed, pointing to the carousel, its painted horses spinning merrily. Jessie couldn't help but smile, her heart swelling as she watched her daughter's face light up. It was a pure joy, just what she wanted her children to have. "Let us go ride it," Tom suggested, the enthusiasm in his voice infectious. Jessie hesitated. The carousel was a delightful sight, but the fear of old wounds reopened clouded her excitement. Can we do something else first?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," he replied, not missing a beat. "How about we grab some cotton candy?" As they approached the stand, Jessie watched Tom rummage for cash. With each step, her fear began to meld into something else entirely. Maybe it was the sugar high in the air, or maybe it was the anticipation sparking between them. She felt it now, something shifting within her. "Here you go, one pink and one blue." Tom handed Sarah the fluffy clouds, her giggles resonating like music. Jessie was struck by how effortlessly he connected with their daughter. Something about the way he reached out, his fingers brushing against Sarah's cheek, made her chest tighten. "Hey, you know what? Let's take a picture," Jessie suddenly suggested, surprising even herself. She pulled out her phone, drawn into the warmth of the moment. Tom leaned in close, bringing Sarah between them. They grinned for the camera, the setting sun painting their silhouettes in gold. Jessie caught a glimpse of her family past and potential future entwined in that snapshot and felt tears pricking at her eyes. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so vulnerable, yet so alive. Once the picture was taken, she immediately looked at the screen and a burst of laughter came from Tom. "Sarah, that's your funniest face yet," he exclaimed. There it was again, no pretenses, only genuine joy. "Okay, my turn. Let's get on the Ferris wheel," Sarah squealed, pulling them in that direction. Jessie's heart sank for a moment. "Heights. Maybe later, sweetheart," Jessie said, her tone firm. "Let's try the games first." The carnival games beckoned, loud and vibrant shouts of victory and laughter filled the air, mingling with the sweet scent of candied nuts and popcorn. As they played, Jessie began to relax. Each throw of a dart, each ring tossed and each laugh shared quietly chipped away at her reservations. She found her gaze drifting toward Tom again. He was animated, so full of life, as he teased her for missing the dartboard completely. "Just think of me as your personal cheerleader," he said, arms waving dramatically. Jessie couldn't help but laugh, and it felt like the weight of the years was lifting, but beneath the laughter, a flicker of doubt sparked once more. What if this was all an illusion? What if, when the fair lights dimmed and reality set in, everything would spiral back to where it once was? "Dance with me?" Tom's voice pulled her out of her thoughts. He gestured toward a small area where couples twirled to the soft, nostalgic music of a live band. Jessie hesitated, fear clashing with the pull of want. As if sensing her struggle, he added, "Just one dance. For old time's sake." And as he extended his hand, the memory of youth surfaced, heated with longing and tangled with uncertainty. The night was igniting, and Jessie felt it, a kind of magic wrapped in the vulnerability of the moment. Just one dance. Could she allow herself to step into his arms and let everything else fade? But before she could answer, a loud crash erupted nearby. A ride malfunction sent the crowd screaming, shadows looming as panic erupted. Jessie's heart raced, sudden dread clawing at her chest. What had they stepped into, stepping towards a future that was still so uncertain? "Jessie! You okay?" Tom's voice broke through the chaos, filled with concern as he reached for her. Feeling the weighty question hanging in the air, she found herself once more at a crossroad. Would she push through the fear with him by her side? As the night unfolded, she felt the magic of the fair slip through her fingers like the cotton candy she once held. And the deepest question echoed in her mind: was she ready to trust again, even when shadows loomed large? Jessie's breath hitched as the sound of screams filled the air. The vibrant colors of the carnival seemed to dim, swallowed by a wave of panic. She looked at Sarah, eyes wide and uncertain, clinging to Tom's hand like it was her lifeline. "Stay close," Tom said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. He pulled them both to a nearby booth, where the bright lights flickered wildly as if they too were afraid. "Mommy! What's happening?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jessie knelt to meet her daughter's gaze, forcing a calm smile. "It's just a little scare, honey." Nothing to worry about, she lied, her heart pounding in her chest. It felt like a lie even as she spoke, but she wanted to shield Sarah from the real fear bubbling beneath her skin. At that moment, Jessie's gaze met Tom's, and she saw the worry etched on his face. Yet, there was something else there. A resolve. His tentative smile spoke volumes, promising her that they would get through this. It tugged at Jessie's heart, a glimmer of hope between them amidst the turmoil. Suddenly, the loudspeaker crackled to life, announcing that the chaos had been contained. The ride had been shut down, and everyone should remain calm. Relief washed over Jessie, but it was short-lived. She had stepped into this world with a long-buried fear of the unpredictable, of losing control once again. As the crowd's tension began to ease, Jessie felt a tug on her shirt. It was Sarah, peering up at her, cotton candy still in hand. "Can we go on the Ferris wheel now? Please." The innocence in her voice snapped something in Jessie, pulling her back to that specific moment in time, like she was standing at the edge of something significant. What if, she hesitated, a million fears swirling inside. Then she met Tom's eye again, and a flicker of bravery ignited. "What if we all ride it together? Just one spin." "Really?" Sarah's excitement bubbled to the surface. "Really," Jessie replied, her voice firm and filled with newfound determination. They moved towards the Ferris wheel, and Jessie's heart raced. She felt like she was stepping off a cliff, into the great unknown. Each step they took felt monumental. As they approached the ride, she could see the colorful gondolas swaying gently, waiting to embrace them high above. "Are you ready?" Tom asked, his hand brushing against hers, anchoring her with his warmth. She took a deep breath, nodding. "Yeah, I think I am." Stepping into the gondola, Jessie felt a rush of exhilaration and dread. As they ascended, the fairground stretched beneath them, but all she could focus on was Tom and Sarah. The world seemed to expand, offering her a breathtaking view, but also the realization that everything she had ever feared seemed small and distant from here. "I can see our house from up here," Sarah shouted, pointing out her imaginary kingdom below, wonder painting her features. Jessie caught Tom's eye, both of them laughing quietly at their daughter's boundless enthusiasm. Her heart swelled. A twinge of anxiety fluttered in her chest, but it was accompanied by something else, an openness, a willingness to embrace life. Being here, together, felt like the first step towards something new. When they reached the top, the moment hung in the air, suspended and electric. Jessie couldn't help but smile. The view was magnificent, but even more beautiful was the bond they were forming right now. She wished for this feeling to last. Maybe this was it. Tom leaned closer, the wind tousling his hair. "Look at us," he murmured, a sparkle in his eyes. "Right here and now." Before Jessie could respond, the Ferris wheel started its descent. But her heart, once clenched in fear, now felt free, buoyed by possibility. The ground was rising up to meet them, yet she didn't want this ride to end. This moment held promise. Maybe today wasn't just about facing fears. Maybe it was about embracing new beginnings. As they neared the ground, a sudden thought took root in Jessie's mind. Were they building a future? Could this joy, fortified by Sarah's laughter and Tom's presence, be enough to heal past wounds? When their gondola finally touched the ground, Jessie realized she craved more than just one dance. She wanted to dance through life with them both. But just as they stepped off, a shadow passed, an old acquaintance waiting in the crowd, eyes narrowed with intrigue. Jessie's heart sank. What secrets from her past might come rushing back, crashing into her newfound hope? Would she be able to hold on to this moment, or would the shadows of yesterday pull her back into the dark? Jessie took a hesitant step away from the Ferris wheel. Sarah tugged at her hand, still buzzing with excitement, but Jessie's mind raced. The familiar figure in the crowd loomed larger than life, eclipsing the joy she had just felt. "Mommy?" Sarah's voice broke through her thoughts. "Can we go see the animals next?" Jessie's heart ached at the innocence in her daughter's voice. She tried to muster a smile, but her mind swirled as memories of the past flickered through her consciousness like old film reels, echoes of whispered accusations, broken promises, and lost dreams. "Sure, honey. But first." Jessie glanced back toward the figure, her breath catching when their eyes met. It was Clara, her old friend from the city. Friend or foe? The last time they'd spoken had been under far less friendly terms. "Jessie, is everything okay?" Tom asked, sensing her tension. Jessie forced her gaze away from Clara. "Yeah, let us go see the animals, just like Sarah wanted." As they walked through the crowd, laughter echoed around them, but the sound felt muffled. The bright lights that had felt so welcoming just moments ago now seemed harsh and glaring. Would Clara approach her? What would she say? They arrived at the petting zoo, and Jessie watched as Sarah squealed with delight, racing toward the goats, her cotton candy forgotten. Jessie tucked a strand of hair behind her ear before guilt washed over her. Here they were, creating beautiful memories, yet the specter of her past threatened everything. Tom's hand found hers again, grounding her. "You're thinking too much," he observed gently. "We're here. It's okay to enjoy this day." Jessie nodded, but the knot in her stomach tightened. How long until Clara came over? The seconds felt like minutes. "Look at the baby goats. Aren't they cute?" Sarah squealed, completely oblivious to the tension swirling around her mother. Jessie forced herself to smile, watching the joy radiate from her daughter. At that moment, she wanted to shield Sarah from any negativity, but she also knew hiding from her past wouldn't work forever. "Jess," Tom said softly, drawing her attention. "Whatever happens, I'm right here." That promise steadied her for a moment, but then Clara approached. "Jessie." The tone was neutral, but Jessie could sense the underlying tension. "Clara," Jessie replied cautiously, readying herself for the inevitable. "I just wanted to see how you're doing," Clara stated, her expression unreadable. "It's been a while." Jessie felt the weight of unsaid words hang between them. "I'm fine. We're good now." "Is that so?" Clara bit her lip, her eyes flickering with a mixture of sympathy and curiosity. "I heard some things. Things about how you've turned your life around." "The past is the past," Jessie managed, a hint of defiance creeping into her tone. She felt the urge to protect what she had fought so hard to build with Tom and Sarah. Clara's gaze softened slightly. "I'm glad to hear it. But, Jessie, are you really okay? I know it's not easy to just forget everything." "Forget?" Jessie echoed, her vulnerability lay bare. "I can't forget. But I have to move on." Clara glanced at Tom and Sarah, a flicker of understanding crossing her features. "You deserve happiness, really you do." Jessie searched her old friend's face, trying to decipher intentions. "And what about you, Clara? What do you want?" A pause hung between them, each woman reflecting on their choices, dreams, and paths taken. "Just peace, I guess," Clara said softly. Jessie felt the breath in her lungs deepen. Maybe Clara was right, perhaps they both needed to confront their pasts to make way for a better future. "Maybe we can try to make amends," Jessie suggested cautiously, the hope of reconciliation warming her spirit. But just as Clara opened her mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed from the distance, cutting through the tension. Jessie's heart raced again, fingers finding Tom's arm instinctively. "What was that?" Sarah gasped, her eyes wide. The atmosphere shifted immediately, and the laughter around them faded into uncertainty. Faces turned in various directions, fear bubbling anew. Jessie's heart raced. What now? Would the chaos return? As a crowd began to murmur, Jessie gripped Tom's hand tighter. She faced Clara, her breath hitching. What if the past wasn't the only thing knocking at the door? Clara's gaze faltered as sounds of panic filled the air again. Jessie took a breath, knowing this day was far from over, and that her moment of resolution was yet to come. Jessie could feel the panic ripple through the crowd like an electric current. It wasn't just the loud crash that unnerved her, it was the instinctive fear of something unknown lurking nearby. She focused on Sarah, who was still wide-eyed and innocent, completely unaware of the potential danger. "Mommy?" Sarah's small voice wavered again, this time laced with uncertainty. "Is it going to be okay?" "Of course it will, sweetheart," Jessie replied, trying to sound reassuring even though her heart was pounding. She forced a smile, but even she could hear the tremor in her voice. Tom squeezed her hand tighter. "Let us move toward the exit, okay? We can find somewhere safe to wait until we know what's going on." The thrumming pulse of anxiety grew louder as they started to shuffle away from the petting zoo. Clara followed closely behind, her presence now a reminder of what could pull Jessie back into a life she was trying to leave behind. It galled her that this moment of crisis was overshadowing the tentative steps she had just taken to reconnect with her past. As they picked their way through the crowd that was now buzzing with fervor, a sense of urgency filled the air. People whispered, pointing in different directions, a few teenagers laughing nervously, while parents corralled their children close. They were all seeking a path through the chaos, grasping for something familiar amid the uncertainty. "Jessie, just breathe," Tom said, his steady tone anchoring her as they walked. "We'll be fine. Just keep moving." Clara fell in step beside them. "What happened? Was it a ride malfunction? Do you think anyone got hurt?" Jessie could hear the concern in Clara's voice, and for a brief moment, she felt grateful for it. Someone cared in the midst of the storm swirling around her, and in that moment of shared fear, a subtle connection began to rebuild between them. "I don't know," Jessie admitted. "But I think we should stay close together." Just then, a loud voice broke through the rising murmurs. "Everyone, please stay calm. We're assessing the situation and will keep you updated soon. Just remain where you are until we give the all clear." The voice was authoritative yet calm, but it resonated with worry that swept over the crowd. Jessie scanned the faces around her. Some people looked determined, others appeared lost, much like she felt. "Let us find a quieter spot," Tom suggested, and with Sarah nestled between them, they maneuvered through the shifting sea of bodies. "Are you okay?" Clara asked Jessie again, her sincerity stark against the fray. It struck Jessie how far they'd come from their last encounter, filled only with bitterness and resentment. "I guess I am," Jessie replied, surprised by the honesty. "I'm just a bit rattled. All of this. I thought today would be just a day of fun." "It still can be," Clara responded softly, her voice barely penetrating the noise. "Maybe we can figure this out together." Jessie looked at Clara, really looked. The face of the friend she'd once turned her back on, now softened by a shared understanding of the fear looming above them. It stirred something in Jessie, a glimmer of hope intertwined with hesitation. "Yeah, maybe," she started, when another sound rang out. A crack and then, fleeting shouts, the crowd froze, eyes darting to the source of the new noise. Jessie felt every muscle in her body tense. "Is it going to happen again?" Sarah whispered, clutching her mother's side. "I don't know, baby. Just stay close." Her heart raced as Clara exchanged a look with her. Was it fear, or something deeper? The kind of understanding that can only form from shared history and hardship. With a sudden surge of determination, Jessie pulled them both to a quieter corner, away from the chaos and confusion. "Whatever's happening, we'll face it together. Right? Right?" Clara nodded, and for a fleeting moment, Jessie felt the weight of the past start to lift. But before she could fully grasp that feeling, a shadow loomed behind them, and Jessie spun around, heart pounding once more as reality tightened its grip. "Mommy!" Sarah screamed. Pointing. "Look out!" Jessie shouted, feeling the rush of fear drown the moment of connection she had almost reached. What will happen now? She wondered desperately, as her world seemed about to shift yet again. What lay behind that shadow? Moments of frightful ambiguity were about to unfold, and she could only hope that through the maelstrom, she would find her way back to peace and resolution. Jessie turned sharply, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The shadow behind them shifted, and the source came into focus, a large, dark figure that loomed near them, casting an unsettling presence over the crowd. For a moment, time seemed to stall. Her heart raced, and she instinctively stepped in front of Sarah, shielding her from whatever threat emerged. "Stand back," Tom said, raising his voice, bracing himself for the worst. Clara pressed against Jessie, eyes wide with terror. The crowd parted slightly, gasps and whispers rippling through as everyone tried to discern the danger. Then, just as quickly, the shadow moved into the light. It was a clown, not a menacing creature but a performer, complete with a bright red nose and colorful wig. Laughter erupted nervously from some children, the tension easing like a deflating balloon. But Jessie felt no amusement, her chest still tightened, heart pounding, because that single moment of terror faded and left an echo of fear. "Just a clown," someone whispered, the tension in the crowd lessening, but Jessie couldn't shake the residual anxiety. She glanced down at Sarah. Her daughter looked confused but also slightly fascinated by the spectacle. "Mommy, look. He is so funny," Sarah exclaimed, her little face lighting up as the clown juggled brightly colored balls, balancing it all with humorous flair. "Yeah, sweetie. Just a clown," Jessie said breathlessly, forcing a smile. She took a deep breath, trying to ground herself. For Sarah's sake, she needed to push through the unease that a few moments passed, and just as Jessie felt the grip of panic start to loosen, a woman yelled out from across the way. "Help! Someone's hurt." The air thickened again, the laughter fading in its wake. The vibrant colors of the carnival no longer seemed inviting, the shadow of danger loomed heavy once more. "Did you hear that?" Clara asked, her eyes darting in the direction of the voice. Jessie grabbed Tom's arm, her nails digging in as she fought the surge of panic rising in her chest. "We need to check," Jessie said, already feeling a pull toward the shouting crowd. A heaviness settled in her gut. It wasn't just curiosity, but a need to protect. "I don't think we should," Tom replied cautiously. "What if it's something serious?" "We should stay," but Jessie couldn't shake the worry. "But what if someone is hurt?" A flicker of resolve ignited inside her. "We can't just ignore it." As her heart raced, she began moving, pulling Sarah along with her. Clara hesitated for a second before joining them, and together they squeezed through the crowd. They reached the outer circle of people gathered tightly, a sense of urgency palpable in the air. Jessie grabbed a passing hand, a teenager standing nearby. "What happened?" "Somebody fell off the Ferris wheel," the girl exclaimed, her voice shaky. "They're trying to get paramedics, but everybody's freaking out." Jessie's chest tightened again. She didn't even have to think to know how dangerous that must be. "We need to help," she said, her voice firm. "We can't just stand by." "What can we do?" Clara asked, panic tinging her words. "Get people to move," Jessie replied, determination seeping into her tone. "Create space. If someone's hurt, we can't block the way." With renewed purpose, they began to move through the crowd. Jessie felt a sense of connection. She wasn't alone in this. Tom and Clara were right beside her, and even Sarah's small hand in hers gave her strength. They began directing people away, shouting for calm, looking to create a path for help, but as the crowd parted, Jessie sensed something else beneath the surface. A collective anxiety rippled through the throng. It felt familiar, a chilling echo of something deeper lurking within her. The unease was almost tangible. Jessie looked around, her intuition warned her that this was more than just a simple accident. A wave of uncertainty crashed over her. What lay ahead? What would they uncover as they pushed further into the chaos? "Mommy, what is happening?" Sarah asked, her voice small, her innocent face stark against the backdrop of fear. Jessie's throat tightened as she steeled herself, knowing it was crucial to remain strong. "I don't know, baby. But we're going to find out together." With renewed focus, they prepared to dive deeper into the heart of the crisis, not knowing what they might unearth or how this moment would change everything for them forever. As they pressed forward, Jessie could feel the vibrations of fear humming through the crowd. It was a living entity, palpable and suffocating. The sound of distant sirens began to weave through the chaos, adding a sinister underscore to the panic rippling around them. "Stay close, Sarah," Jessie said firmly, her grip on her daughter's hand tightening. She felt Tom behind her, an anchor in the storm, while Clara flanked her other side, both of them mirroring her unease. They reached the inner circle, where a small group of people had gathered. Jessie could see the Ferris wheel towering ominously over them, a massive silhouette against the fading light of the day. Her eyes fell on a figure sprawled on the ground, a young man with tousled hair and a t-shirt, his body motionless. A paramedic knelt beside him, yelling for help. "Clear the way! Clear the way!" Jessie stepped forward instinctively. "What can we do?" She looked to the medic, desperate to be useful. "Help get these people back," he shouted, urgency thick in his voice. Without hesitation, Jessie turned to Clara and Tom. "We need to get everyone away from here. Just like we did before." They leapt into action, waving their arms and calling for calm. Sarah clung to Jessie's side, uncertainty creasing her forehead. Jessie knelt down, forcing a soft smile. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. Just stay right here with me." But even as she reassured Sarah, her heart raced with worry. What if the young man was seriously injured? What if he never got help in time? Minutes felt like hours. The dwindling light cast eerie shadows around the scene, and the murmur of the crowd grew louder, buzzing with speculation and fear. A woman nearby was sobbing, clutching her child's hand tightly. Jessie reached out, gently touching her arm. "It's going to be all right. The paramedics are here." The woman looked up, her eyes filled with confusion and fright, as if Jessie's reassurance couldn't pierce through the layers of panic suffocating them. Just then, a commotion erupted from behind them. A man stumbled into view, wild-eyed and frantic. "There's a rumor. Someone else is missing, another kid from the carnival." The crowd gasped collectively. Jessie felt her stomach drop. Another missing child? It was as if the air had been sucked out of the space. "Mommy!" Sarah whimpered, her small voice piercing through the noise. Jessie could see her daughter's wide eyes glistening with tears, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Jessie crouched, wrapping her arms around Sarah, holding her tight. "Listen to me," Jessie said, her voice firm and steady despite the tremor in her heart. "We're going to keep you safe, okay? Just keep your eyes on me." As the whispers turned to shouts, the urgency of their situation became a torrent. Jessie looked up to see Tom and Clara still working to manage the crowd. This wasn't just a moment of tragedy, it was becoming a nightmare unfolding before them. "Jessie! We need to go back," Tom called, his voice strained over the rising chaos. "Back? Why?" Jessie shouted back, trying to process what he meant. "Something's happening. They're saying there's more going on here than we thought. We can't stick around." Jessie's heart raced with anxiety and confusion. Fear tangled in her mind, but instinct overrode it. "We can't leave without knowing what's happened." But as the chilling realization settled in, she felt a stiff breeze sweep through the area, sending shivers down her spine. Danger loomed like a dark cloud, heavy and foreboding. "Mommy!" Sarah cried again, clutching her tightly. In that moment, Jessie realized they were standing at a crossroads between finding safety and unraveling a mystery that could change everything for them. Should they delve deeper into the chaos or prioritize their escape before it swallowed them whole? Her gut twisted with indecision as she faced the crowd. What lay ahead was unknown, and fear clawed at her heart. "Stay together," she shouted, resolve igniting within her. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." But what was waiting for them in the shadows of the carnival? "Hold on tight, Sarah. We're going to figure this out. As they moved towards the source of the chaos, an urgent question lingered in Jessie's mind: who else might be in danger, and could they save them in time? Jessie's heart pounded with each step they took. The chaos around them felt like a living thing, twisting and writhing, threatening to engulf them. They pushed deeper into the crowd, where whispers grew louder, more frantic, and the fear was nearly suffocating. "Jessie, we really shouldn't be here," Tom pressed, urgency lacing his voice. Jessie's eyes flickered to Clara, who was scanning the crowd, a mix of determination and dread in her gaze. "Just a little longer," she responded, her voice steadier than she felt. "We need to know what's happening." "Are you sure?" Clara asked, inching closer, her worry evident. "What if the rumors are true?" Jessie glanced back at Sarah, still tightly gripping her hand. The little girl's eyes were wide with fear but filled with trust, a mixture that weighed heavily on Jessie's heart. They reached the edge of an area where the Ferris wheel loomed large. People were gathering, forming an audience for something they did not yet understand. Jessie saw the paramedics still working on the young man, but there were other faces now, frantic relatives, voices rising in anger and confusion. It was then Jessie noticed a small boy, lost and standing alone near the Ferris wheel, looking helpless. "Mommy!" Sarah whispered, pulling on Jessie's arm, her voice trembling. "We can't leave him," Jessie said, voice low but firm. She knew they had to act. "Stay with Clara, okay? I'll be right back." "Mommy, please don't go," Sarah begged, her eyes pooling with tears. "I won't be long, I promise." Jessie squeezed her daughter's shoulder gently before stepping away, feeling the weight of every step as she moved toward the boy. He looked up at her, a mixture of fear and confusion on his small face. "I can't find my mom," he cried, his small voice breaking. Jessie crouched down and opened her arms. "It's okay, sweetie. I know how scary this is. We're going to find her together." He hesitated before running into her embrace. The moment shattered Jessie's heart. She could truly feel the pulse of fear around them, but she also felt the flicker of hope. "Can you tell me your name?" she asked, keeping her voice calm. "Ethan," he sniffled, wiping his eyes. "Great, Ethan. Let us find your mom. Do you remember where you last saw her?" "By the games I was playing, and then everything got loud and then I got lost," he stammered. Jessie's gaze darted back to Clara and Sarah, who were watching anxiously from a distance. Time was unraveling, but she couldn't abandon this child. "Okay, let us go back that way. Stay close to me." As they started to move, the growing tension in the crowd began to evolve into something more chaotic. People rushed around in different directions, some screaming for help, others searching for loved ones. "Jessie!" Clara's voice rang out, panic mounting in her tone. "We need to leave now." Jessie turned back, feeling her stomach drop. Clara's eyes were wide, and her expression said it all: the situation was spiraling. "What's happening?" Jessie shouted, desperation creeping into her voice. "Something's gone wrong. They're saying the carnival is shutting down and people are getting hurt." Jessie's heart raced as she looked back at Ethan. "We need to find your mom, right now." Just then, a loud crash echoed through the fairgrounds. The Ferris wheel's lights flickered, and the crowd screamed, panic spreading like wildfire as people began to run. "Mommy!" Sarah's voice broke through the noise, and Jessie felt an icy grip of fear surge through her veins. "Hold on tight, Ethan!" she yelled, racing back towards her daughter, torn between two fears: saving the lost child and protecting Sarah from the chaos unfolding. As she sprinted, a thought struck Jessie hard: what if they were caught in something bigger than they could ever imagine? And then she saw it: the bright lights of the Ferris wheel began to spin wildly without control, shadows twisting towards them like angry specters. "Jessie, this is bad!" Tom shouted, trying to keep Sarah and Clara close. "Get everyone out!" Jessie shouted, her heart pounding fiercely as she pushed through the thrumming chaos. Could she navigate through this madness and keep her family safe? Was it too late, and what awaited them as they neared the towering monstrosity? Every beat of Jessie's heart sent a pulse of dread through her veins. The carnival was no longer a place of joy, but a labyrinth of terror, and they were racing to escape its grip. The air was electric with fear and confusion. Jessie felt a swell of adrenaline rush through her as she pushed past the throngs of people, the sound of frantic footsteps echoing around her. Drawing Sarah close, she focused solely on her daughter's safety. Panic threatened to drown her, but Jessie refused to give in. "Mommy, I'm scared," Sarah cried, her small hand trembling in Jessie's grip. "I know, sweetheart. Just hold on tightly," she replied, her voice firm yet gentle. Glancing back, she saw Tom still trying to keep Clara and Ethan close. "Tom. We need to find a way out. Over there," Tom shouted, pointing towards a path that seemed clearer, away from the chaos that wrapped around them like a thick fog. Jessie led Sarah towards him, determination pushing her feet forward. They dashed through the crowd, the cacophony of chaos swirling behind them. The distressed faces of strangers flared in and out of focus, each one a snapshot of fear and pain, an image Jessie did not want for her daughter. As they forged ahead, the sound of paramedics pierced the air like sirens of hope. "Help is on the way," someone shouted, grabbing Jessie's attention. It sparked a brief flicker of courage in her heart, reminding her that they weren't alone in this nightmare. They were a community. They would push through together, but as they reached the edge of the fairgrounds, Jessie felt a pull. Something deep inside her warned that they needed to stay and help, not merely escape. "We can't just leave," she blurted out, realizing how tightly connection to others clung to her heart. "Jess, we need to go," Tom urged, desperation ringing in his voice. "Tom, there are still people in danger. We can't abandon them," she insisted, her heart racing with the weight of responsibility. She saw that fear reflected in Tom's eyes, mixed now with admiration. "Okay," he said, steeling himself. "We'll help. But stay close." Jessie nodded, rallying her strength. They turned back into the chaos, and the air shifted. Noise crescendoed, but so did their resolve. The fear wasn't paralyzing, it was empowering. They became a small unit, fiercely bonded through the challenge. "Ethan, can you lead us to where you last saw your mom?" Jessie asked the boy, crouching down to his level. "Why, yes. She was by the game booths, I think." His voice was shaky but filled with hope. "Let us go, then." Jessie nodded firmly. Hand in hand, they ran toward the area where the crowd seemed more frantic. They maneuvered through faces filled with anxiety and determination, pushing past people who were either trying to escape or help. Jessie felt the knot of fear in her stomach lessen as they approached the game booths, fresh looks of panic lining the crowd. "Stay together," Tom yelled, keeping Sarah close. Jessie reached the games as the realization that the community had come alive struck her. Volunteers had begun setting a perimeter for those in distress. She could feel an urgency in the air to protect everyone. "We can help," Jessie shouted over the noise, stepping forward as she caught sight of familiar faces. A mom with 2 children stood beside a trailer, her face pallid and eyes wide. Jessie recognized her next-door neighbor. "Do you need help?" Jessie shouted, striding toward her. "My husband, he is still in line for the Ferris wheel. He never came back." Tears ran down the woman's face, panic clawing at her throat. "Stay here. We're going to find him," Jessie declared, turning to her crew. "Tom, Clara, we need to find this man before things get worse. Sarah, you stay with us." The adrenaline coursed through Jessie, heightening her senses. She could do this. They could help together. They powered through the crowd again, this time fueled by purpose. It felt incredible to be surrounded by others desperately working together, overcoming challenges rather than succumbing to fear. The remnants of the carnival sounded distant, replaced by the cries of children and the urgency of parents searching, looking for their loved ones. The lights flickered like stars yearning to shine through a troubled sky. "Is that him?" Clara cried. Pointing toward a group gathered around the base of the Ferris wheel, Jessie pushed forward, her heart racing. There, amidst the chaos, she recognized the outline an older man bent over, confusion wrinkling his brow. "Sir!" she shouted, rushing towards him. "My wife, where's my wife?" he asked, his voice raw with dread. "I'll help you find her," Jessie promised, her resolve solidifying as she caught Tom's eye. They weren't merely fighting for their own safety anymore, they were building hope amid mayhem. Together, they emerged into the light of the crowd, the promise of helping others sparking a light in one another. As they began forming a search group amid the flickering chaos, Jessie felt a ripple of energy send a wave of warmth through the crowd. Someone had to stand tall. Someone had to keep the spirit of the community alive, reminding each other that they could rise above fear, and in that moment, Jessie knew, they had become more than individuals, they were a family entwined in a tapestry mural of resilience. And through helping, through this unification, they would build a story far greater than heartbreak, they would write of hope, renewed love, and the strength that only comes from standing together. And so, they pressed forward, into the heart of uncertainty, ready to face whatever lay ahead, daring to hold on to hope, one heartwarming connection at a time. If you've been touched by this incredible story, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive tales. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us share more heartwarming journeys. Comment below your reactions, feelings, and how this story resonated with you, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. Your support makes all the difference.